Somebody remind me to stop recording after this. All right. Here we go. So remember when you guys are doing your test over like the first 3 skills, I'm going to allow you to use like these documents. So your commercial document with Simone Biles that we did together and the notes that are on the other page, and this document I'm going to allow you to use. Okay? So let me kind of jot down a couple of things for you. So 1, this is what we call our prompt. Just starting at ground zero so everybody knows. Okay, so our prompt, if I ever go off camera or whatever, if it gets blurry, just tell me, because sometimes I don't look back up there. All of this is going to give us our background information that we need to know. Now, what will eventually happen is that as you are given a prompt and a passage, obviously, like these rhetorical situation squares will not be on the actual passage. What will happen is that they will be on, we will find all these things within the prompt and we will label all those things in the prompt. We'll deconstruct the prompt like that. Okay, so eventually that's where we will get. So let me read to you the prompt. At 8:30 p.m. on September 11th, 2001, President George W. Bush delivered an address to the nation regarding the attacks on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the hijacked airplane that crashed in rural Pennsylvania. Read the passage carefully. Write an essay that analyzes the rhetorical choices Bush makes to convey his purpose of reaffirming the country's strength. All right, so let's jump in. Who is our author or speaker?
Bush.
Yep, President George W. Bush. Okay. So I told you, like, once we get into this, it's a little bit easier than, like, the commercials, right? Trying to figure out who's the speaker, who's the narrator, right? The difference. So when we talk about how does the author offer a distinctive perspective, what does distinctive perspective mean? Like, what is a distinctive perspective? What do we mean by that?
Like, what would make somebody's viewpoint different than someone else's? Like, you and I may look at a situation, I may view it one way, and you may view it another way, just based off, like, personal, like, biases and
Yep,
experiences.
absolutely. So we're looking at personal biases, we're looking at experiences, we're looking at knowledge, right? Okay, so you may not necessarily know anything about the person that is speaking, but what can you gather either from the prompt or from maybe the position they hold that can give you a little bit more insight in who they are? So how does this author offer a distinctive perspective on this event itself? What would y'all say? Max?
He's the president. Like, he has total control. He's the one that has to deal with the repercussions of it.
Okay, so he has total control of the country. Kind of. I like how you said, like, he has to deal with the consequences. I like that. What else? What else, Abigail?
He has more knowledge and info and background on the situation. He gets to relate the messages quicker than the rest of the public.
Yep. Okay. Good. What else? Max?
You could also feel, like, threatened by this because it wasn't a conversation.
Okay, so he could feel threatened. Somebody last class actually put it, and I liked it, like he could have been like a target, right? So I'm going to put like potential target. Yeah. Yep. Now, we looked at that as a president. Do you know, like, his family, what other, like, insight he might have with that?
His dad is the president.
Yes, so his, like, what'd you say, his father what?
His father was just also the president.
Yep. So, with his father being president, what does that mean? What does that allow him to maybe better understand?
Like, he learned from his dad's experience as president.
Yeah. Now, this was the first major attack on the country since Pearl Harbor, right? His dad was not president during Pearl Harbor. However, his father, being president, allowed him some understanding of how to deal with public events, the scrutiny, the information, right? He did not grow up in the White House like we saw, like recently, kids growing up in the White House, right? But there is some inside knowledge there. Okay, let's look at the audience. Remember, what do we not say about the audience? People, the world, or in general, Americans. So, my challenge to you is talk with a partner, define at least two audiences in America, inside America, and then at least one audience that is outside of America. Ready, set, go.
People from New York, Americans from New York, Americans
Yes.
Which country, like, the terrorists, like, they weren't from America, right?
Nope.
What country?
Okay, yeah.
We thought it was, like, Middle East.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, then you can say, like for me, I would say for this one, like for terrorists, and that's what I'm going to tell everybody is that is more specific than just people or Americans, so I don't know if you necessarily need a descriptor for that one. All right. Give me an audience. All right, Caroline.
U.S. citizens that are afraid or feel unsafe.
Okay. Good. What else? Janie.
victims' loved ones.
Yep. And honestly, at 8 o'clock at night, we weren't sure if there were, who were the victims. We were still pulling people out. They were still pulling people out of the buildings weeks, months later, right? Elizabeth, who else?
Also think the terrorists who organized the attack.
Yep. And that's what I was saying, like, so I know that I say I need a descriptor when it's general, but I think the terrorists is descriptive enough for me, right? Like that wouldn't have to have a descriptor itself. Ashley?
I also think the Islamic population in the United States,
Okay. Why would you say that?
they might feel like they might be judged by people.
Ooh, good. Good. What else? Blake?
Media.
That's who he's going through. So I don't know if necessarily they are his audience.
I was thinking news sources. That's what I was thinking because they're the ones probably going to scrutinize him the most.
I mean, I don't know if that's who he's addressing. I don't know. I mean, they are like who he's going through, but if we think 12 hours after the event, I'm not sure that they are the audience. Max?
I said the Islamic and like Middle Eastern Muslim communities in and outside of the U.S. because
Okay.
This was a huge turning point where they started getting blamed for things like this. They were made like committed terrorists by the media, even when they didn't do anything.
Okay. As a world power, go ahead, Lauren.
First responders.
Yep. All right, Alan, what else?
Like family members of like active duty soldiers that don't know if they're gonna be able to work or not.
Okay, so
Not like first responders like family that are concerned that not knowing if they're gonna be able to work.
I mean, and you could also say like the military, like our military that's already over there, right?
Yeah.
As as a world power, who else would be watching? How would we describe them? As what?
Other political leaders of other countries.
How would we describe them? As America's what?
Rivals.
Allies, yep. So if we have America's allies, we would also have, yep. Okay. All right. Notice, like, when I say go 3 deep, notice that, like, the more you give, right, the better, more chances for analysis you have for your evidence, right? Okay. Ignore my old fan. It's okay. It's aging like me. All right, so look at obstacles. What obstacles does he have to overcome in order to get his message across 12 hours after the event? What would we say? Go ahead, Lauren.
His own fear.
Okay, good. Caroline, what were you going to say?
Well, obviously, like, right after this had happened, a lot of people were scared, so he has to, like, deliver it in a certain way where people won't get, like, offended or, like, more scared.
Okay, so has to be careful not to create more fear. Good. What else? Haley?
Blame for not, like, preventing me.
Okay, so he has to, yep. And I mean, it's pretty early, like those accusations came, you know, weeks after as more information came out. But yes, obviously that's one thing that he has to have an obstacle of. Ella?
The judgment he got for not responding right away.
Okay, so he has to overcome the obstacle of, like, waiting for 12 hours, right? Okay. Anything else? What else, Max?
He doesn't know that it's over yet.
Okay, so an obstacle is, will there be more attacks? Good. Sydney?
He has to deal with the shock factor and the denial of the American people not believing that it happened or that something went wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's like those stages of grief, right? Dayton?
He has to sound like he's assertive and still in control.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing you want is your president, like, sounding scared or weak when he's about to address the nation, right? All right, let's look at what he can leverage. What can he leverage in this situation?
Like, saying he has things under control.
But that's not really what he's leveraging. He could say that and really not believe it. Landon?
American patriotism.
Yeah, that's good. Especially the hours after, right? Okay, what else, Janie?
I think you can make an argument for saying that we have one of the best militaries.
Okay. Good. Dayton, what else?
I was just gonna say resources,
What do you mean?
guns.
He's going to leverage our guns.
I guess you could put our military stability.
I mean, I think we kind of said that.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
What else? What else? Abigail?
Our first responders response.
Okay. I mean, I think in that you can also leverage, like, what actions have already been taken. Max?
Safety in American buildings will never be the same again. Like,
It's not what he's leveraging at that moment in time.
He could,
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We know now,
yeah.
but I mean, we really don't have any safety because nothing can stop a plane going through a building. There's nothing strong enough to stop that, right? What else, Emma?
He could try to like empathize with the victims' families to make them feel better.
Okay. right, let's look at the exigents. So when we say like, why this message, why now, sometimes it's not as easy. This one, why now?
12 hours early.
Yeah. And sometimes like this would be it, right? This is enough. Like sometimes notice my questions like what made the writer speak out at this time? For this I would say like it goes back in a little bit to the obstacles and leverage, like he had to wait for more information.
Is that terror?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. He had to wait for more information. I mean, duh, right? I think again, like looking at the obstacles, like he had to make sure like it was over. All right, context. Remember, we want to think about like contextually to this event, right? So what's happening early 2000? Economically, how are we? We're stable. We're actually kind of in a boom, right? This is before our recession.
Wasn't he a little under a year in this presidency?
Yeah, I mean, he was, early in his presidency. Yeah, that was like the first year, right? Like he took over in January, and so that was like 8-9 months into his presidency, yeah. We also, like y'all may not know this, but about 20 years prior, there was another attack on the World Trade Centers. It happened in the parking garage. It was obviously not as horrific and extensive. However, there was still an attack. I mean, and I remember growing up, like still remembering, like there were hostage situations on airplanes, but like I remember like on the news, like watching hostage like situations on airplanes, but they were always on the ground and they were always in like other countries. Like it was never here. It was never a concern here, right? All right, when we look at purpose, we always have two things. We have the understand and we have the do. So I'm going to just actually divide my little box in half, and I'm going to try to find my understand. I'm going to try to find the do. We always find this in the task of the prompt. So most of the time what you're going to look for is you're going to look for the understand or do in the task. So if we go up to the task, read the passage carefully, that's not a task. Write an essay, that's not a task. What are we tasked to do in that essay? It always begins with a marker verb. So analyze the rhetorical choices Bush makes to convey his purpose of reaffirming the country's strength. Those brackets are our task. So in there, where do you see? Is there an understand or a do in the task? Okay, so we're going to look at reaffirm the country's strength. And is that understand or do? He wants the audience to do that. He wants the audience to understand. In order for them to do something, we understand that we'll get the other part once we read it. So the understand is reaffirm the country's strength. The do will come back after we read, and we'll fill that part in. Questions? All right.